My beloved brothers and sisters, there comes a moment in every life when the world feels unbearably heavy. A moment when the heart trembles, the eyes fill, and the mind whispers, "Why is this happening to me?" It is in those very moments, the moments when our souls shake, that Allah gently calls us back to Him. He reminds us, "Do not doubt. I am nearer to you than your very breath." Every one of us knows what it feels like to stand in the middle of a storm. That storm may be a broken heart, a shattered dream, a failing business, a silent home, or a sickness that drains us day by day. But hear this clearly, your difficulty is not a punishment, it is a divine invitation. An invitation to rise, to return, to trust, to rediscover the unshakable power of believing in the one who never abandons his servants. Imagine for a moment a seed buried beneath the earth. In that darkness it may feel forgotten, unseen, suffocated. But that very darkness is its birthplace, the place where transformation begins. And you too are like that seed. Your hardship is not your burial, it is your planting. Allah is preparing you for growth that you cannot yet see. Too often when trials strike, we allow doubt to creep in. We question our worth, our future, our prayers. We wonder if things will ever change. But doubt is a fog. It blinds the heart. Faith, on the other hand, is light. It cuts through every shadow. Allah has never asked us to understand His entire plan. He has only asked us to trust Him. Because while we see only the moment, He sees the whole story. Think of all the times you thought you wouldn't make it, yet you did. Think of the wounds you believed would never heal, yet they closed. Think of the nights you cried, yet the morning still came. Allah carried you then, and He will carry you now. When the world pushes you to your knees, that is the perfect position to pray. And when you raise your hands, trembling with fear and filled with uncertainty, know this: every tear you shed is seen. Every heartfelt dua is heard. Every moment of patience is recorded. Allah delays only to give you something far better than what you asked for. So stop doubting. Doubt builds walls, faith builds bridges. Doubt weakens the heart. Faith strengthens the soul. Doubt focuses on the problem. Faith focuses on the one who controls all outcomes. My brothers and sisters, if your life feels stuck, if your heart feels heavy, if your path feels dark, place your trust in Allah with every fiber of your being. Say, "Ya Allah, you are enough for me." And watch how the world around you begins to shift. Watch how opportunities appear from directions you never expected. Watch how relief descends in ways you cannot comprehend. Hold on. Be patient. Stay steadfast. Because the same Lord who turned night into day, who split the sea for the oppressed, who brought water from barren deserts, that same Lord is watching over you. Remember, when you trust Allah during the hardest moments, everything changes. Not because the world becomes easier, but because your heart becomes stronger. May Allah fill your life with peace, your heart with faith, and your path with blessings you never imagined. And may you walk through every difficulty knowing with certainty, Allah is with you, and He will never let you go. The human heart wavers, bends, trembles, and sometimes breaks. It is the most delicate creation within us, constantly pulled in different directions by fears, hopes, memories, and desires. Yet, despite its fragility, the heart is also the place where true strength is born. It is where faith takes root, where resilience blossoms, and where peace descends, but only when we allow ourselves to trust Allah fully. This journey from wavering to unwavering faith is one of the most profound transformations a human being can experience. It does not happen suddenly, nor does it come without struggle. Instead, it unfolds through moments of vulnerability, through tears shed behind closed doors, through silent prayers whispered in the middle of the night, and through the humbling realization that we are never truly in control. When a person places their trust in the world alone, the heart becomes unstable. Every disappointment feels like a collapse. Every failure feels final. Every unanswered question becomes a burden too heavy to carry. But when that same heart turns toward Allah, the one who knows every hidden sorrow, every secret fear, and every hope that we dare not speak aloud, something remarkable begins to shift. The heart no longer clings to temporary things for stability. It finds anchorage in the eternal. It finds comfort in the one who never changes. It discovers a peace that the world cannot offer and cannot take away. True peace is not the absence of hardship. It is not a life free from stress, loss, or uncertainty. True peace is the state of a heart that knows it is held by Allah. It is the certainty that no matter what storms rage outside, the soul remains protected inside. This peace is not fragile. It does not disappear when circumstances worsen. Instead, it grows stronger. It becomes the very light that guides a person through the darkness. But reaching this state requires trust, deep, sincere, wholehearted trust. And trust in Allah does not mean expecting life to be easy. It means believing that behind every difficulty is wisdom, behind every delay is goodness, and behind every heartbreak is a path leading to something better. When we trust Allah, we stop demanding that everything makes sense immediately. We stop trying to control every outcome. We stop exhausting ourselves with what if, and why me, and how will this ever get better. Instead, we learn to surrender. We learn to say, my Lord knows, my Lord sees, my Lord will not abandon me. This surrender is not weakness. It is the greatest strength a believer can possess. It allows the heart to breathe, to rest, to hope again. It replaces panic with patience, fear with faith, and confusion with clarity. A person who trusts Allah walks differently, speaks differently, prays differently, and sees life differently. They understand that what is written for them will reach them even if the entire world tries to block it. And what is not written for them will never come their way, no matter how desperately they chase it. The human heart wavers because it is searching for security, certainty, meaning, and belonging. And there is no place on earth that can provide these things completely. People change. Circumstances shift. Wealth increases and decreases. Health rises and falls. But Allah remains constant. His mercy does not run out. His wisdom does not falter. His love does not waver. When the heart recognizes this reality, it stops clinging to what is unstable and turns toward what is eternal. Yet the journey to trusting Allah often begins in pain. Many people discover true faith only after experiencing profound difficulty. Hardship has a way of stripping away illusions. It forces us to confront the truth that we are limited, dependent, and desperately in need of the one who created us. It humbles us, but in that humility, it elevates us spiritually. When the heart is broken, it becomes open to guidance, open to prayer, open to transformation. And in that openness, trust begins to grow. Everyone who has ever placed their trust fully in Allah knows the sweetness that follows. It is the kind of peace that settles deep within the chest, making even the hardest days bearable. It is the kind of peace that whispers, this moment is part of your journey, not the end of it. It is the kind of peace that strengthens a person from the inside, giving them the courage to keep moving forward, even when the road ahead is uncertain. And as trust deepens, the heart changes. It becomes softer, more patient, more grateful. It stops complaining as often. It sees blessings where it once saw burdens. It appreciates the small mercies that were once overlooked. It finds beauty in moments that previously seemed insignificant. And most importantly, it develops a quiet confidence, a confidence not in oneself, but in the one who controls all outcomes. The human heart will always waver, but it does not have to remain unstable. Peace is not far away. It rests in the simple, profound act of trusting Allah with everything. The past you regret, the present you struggle with, and the future you fear. When you finally surrender these to Him, the heart finds what it was searching for all along. Unshakable peace. Difficult times have a unique way of speaking to the soul. They arrive uninvited, often at the worst possible moment, and shake the foundations of our comfort, plans, and expectations. At first glance, hardship feels like rejection, like something has gone terribly wrong in our lives. But in truth, these moments are among the most powerful invitations from Allah, a divine call to return, to reconnect, to rediscover our purpose, and to strengthen the bond between us and the one who created us. What appears as a setback is often a doorway. What feels like a collapse is often an opening. And what seems like loss is often the beginning of a deeper form of guidance. When life is smooth and everything aligns perfectly, we easily become comfortable, sometimes too comfortable. We become absorbed by routine, distracted by worldly pursuits, and occupied by goals that overshadow our spiritual needs. In those moments of ease, we may forget gratitude, forget humility, forget our reliance on Allah. But when hardship strikes, suddenly the illusion of control dissolves. We confront our vulnerability. Our dependence on Allah becomes clearer than ever, and our hearts instinctively turn toward the only one who can truly help us. Difficult times awaken the soul in ways comfort never can. This awakening is not meant to break us, but to repair us. It is similar to how a doctor may set a bone that healed incorrectly. The process is painful, but it is necessary for proper healing. Allah does not place us in hardship to destroy us. He places us there to realign our hearts, to cleanse us from spiritual dust, and to remind us that He is the only constant in a world full of change. Trials soften hearts that have grown hard. They humble egos that have grown proud. They purify intentions that have become mixed. They pull us back from paths that would have harmed us. In this way, difficulties are not merely obstacles, they are divine interventions. Every hardship carries a message unique to the person experiencing it. For some, it comes as a reminder to slow down. For others, it is a push to rise. For someone drowning in worldly attachments, a challenge may come to remind them that true security lies with Allah alone. For someone whose heart has drifted, a difficulty may come to draw them back with gentleness, guiding them toward prayer, reflection, and spiritual awakening. No trial is random. No pain is meaningless. Every difficulty is tailored with precision, wrapped in wisdom, and delivered by the most merciful, for reasons that often become clear only with time. Think of the moments in your life when hardship forced you to grow. Times when you learned patience not because you wanted to, but because you had no choice. Times when you found strength within yourself that you never knew existed. Times when you turned to prayer with a sincerity you had never felt before. These are the spiritual treasures hidden inside hardship. Treasures we would never have discovered without being shaken first. Sometimes the invitation in hardship is an invitation to let go, to release what is not good for us, to free ourselves from attachments that drain us, relationships that break us, or expectations that burden us. Allah removes certain things not to punish us, but to protect us. And though the removal feels painful, it often saves the heart from a deeper, enduring sorrow. After the initial hurt fades, we often look back and say, if that difficulty had not happened, I would not be who I am today. Other times, the invitation is to rise, to become stronger, wiser, more patient, more compassionate. Hardship teaches resilience. It teaches perseverance. It teaches us to rely on Allah with sincerity. It builds spiritual muscles the way physical resistance builds bodily strength. When everything is easy, we do not grow. But when life pushes against us, we push back, and in that effort, our souls expand. Perhaps the most beautiful invitation hidden within difficulty is the call to draw nearer to Allah. When the heart breaks, it becomes more open to divine guidance. When the world disappoints, the sweetness of relying on Allah becomes even more radiant. Many people pray with the deepest sincerity during hardship, not because they suddenly learned how to pray, but because pain has a way of clearing away the distractions that once stood between them and their Creator. In grief, in fear, in uncertainty, we turn back instinctively to the one who has always been there. And Allah responds, not always by removing the problem immediately, but by strengthening the heart, illuminating the path, and comforting the soul. Sometimes the trial remains, but the heart changes, and that change is far more valuable than the removal of difficulty. We begin to see the world differently. We begin to trust Allah more deeply. We begin to understand that every hardship is a chapter in a story written with wisdom. Difficult times are not proof that Allah is distant, they are proof that He is paying attention. They are invitations to remember Him, to rely on Him, to rediscover hope, and to learn patience. They are reminders that even in the darkest moments, Allah's mercy is working quietly behind the scenes, preparing something better, something purer, something that will make sense when the time is right. So when hardship reaches your life, do not assume it is a sign of abandonment. See it as a divine invitation, one that calls you back to your Creator with a love deeper than you may ever fully comprehend. Doubt is one of the heaviest emotions a human being can carry. It creeps in quietly, often disguised as worry, fear, or hesitation, and before we realize it, it begins clouding our vision and draining our strength. When doubt enters the heart, it becomes difficult to see blessings, difficult to trust the future, and difficult to believe that Allah has a plan for us. Yet faith, pure, sincere, unwavering faith, has the power to illuminate every corner of darkness. Faith is not merely a belief, it is a light, a strength, a shield, and a comfort that transforms how we experience every moment of our lives. The heart may tremble, but faith gives it stability. The mind may fear, but faith calms it. Life may feel uncertain, but faith reminds us that Allah is always in control. There are moments when we feel lost, overwhelmed, or unsure of the path ahead. These are the times when doubt whispers, "You can't make it, you're alone, nothing will ever change." These thoughts may seem small, but they are powerful enough to steal our peace and weaken our resolve. Doubt builds walls around the heart, blocking us from hope, optimism, and spiritual clarity. But faith tears those walls down. It brings warmth where there was coldness, clarity where there was confusion, and courage where there was fear. Faith does not deny the existence of hardship, it transforms our relationship with it. Instead of seeing problems as enemies, faith allows us to see them as teachers, as reminders, as steps toward growth. When a person embraces faith deeply, they begin to see life through a different lens. Hardships no longer feel like punishments, they feel like opportunities. Setbacks no longer feel final, they feel like pauses for reflection and realignment. Faith turns every moment, even the painful ones, into a chance to draw closer to Allah. It reminds us that our struggles are not random, our tears are not unnoticed, and our patience is not wasted. Every breath we take while trusting Allah becomes an act of worship. Every trial endured with faith becomes a source of reward. Every moment of perseverance becomes a step toward spiritual elevation. Faith is like a lantern carried through a dark forest. The forest does not disappear, the difficulties do not vanish, and the path does not suddenly become straight. But the lantern makes the next few steps visible. You may not see your destination yet, but you can move forward. Doubt, on the other hand, is the extinguishing of that lantern. Without light, every shadow looks like danger. Every rustle feels like a threat. Every step becomes uncertain. That is why Allah repeatedly reminds us in the Quran not to fear and not to grieve, because fear is born from imagining a future without Allah, while faith is born from knowing that He is already there. When faith enters the heart softens. It becomes more patient. It becomes more trusting. It becomes more aware of Allah's presence. Imagine a person standing on the shore during a storm. The winds are strong, the waves high, and the sky dark. Doubt makes the storm look unbeatable. Faith, however, reminds the person that the one who created the sea can calm it with a single command. The one who sends storms also sends relief. The one who tests hearts also heals them. The person still faces the storm, but they no longer face it alone. They stand knowing that Allah is their protector, their guide, and their source of strength. This shift in perspective changes everything. A believer with faith navigates life differently. They wake up with purpose. They endure with hope. They pray with sincerity. They reflect with gratitude. They approach life not with fear of the unknown, but with trust in the one who knows all things. Their worries do not disappear, but they lose their power. Their pain does not vanish, but it becomes meaningful. Their challenges do not break them, because their foundation is strong. Faith also nurtures resilience. A heart filled with faith is capable of recovering from disappointments faster, because it knows that every closed door is either a protection or a redirection. A person with doubt may crumble when things go wrong, but a person with faith rises. They rise because they understand that Allah never allows a difficulty unless He knows it will benefit the believer in some way, whether through purification, elevation, guidance, or blessing. Faith gives a person the strength to say, "I do not understand this right now, but I trust that Allah does." Another remarkable effect of faith is its ability to connect us with gratitude. Even in hardship, the eyes of faith see blessings. The believer recognizes that the mere ability to breathe, to hope, to pray, to seek forgiveness, to feel Allah's presence, these are gifts far greater than any material loss. Gratitude fuels faith, and faith deepens gratitude. Together they protect the heart from drowning in doubt. To live with faith is to live with hope, not blind hope, but hope grounded in the knowledge of Allah's mercy, power, and wisdom. It is the type of hope that allows a person to smile even when life hurts, to keep walking even when the path is unclear, and to hold on even when everything feels heavy. Faith is not a guarantee of ease, but it is a guarantee of guidance. It is the assurance that no matter how dark the night becomes, dawn will come, because Allah never abandons those who trust Him. The heart will always encounter doubts in life, but it does not have to surrender to them. Faith is the antidote. Faith is the light. Faith is the anchor. And when faith replaces doubt, the entire world changes. Not because the world becomes easier, but because the believer becomes stronger. Every hardship carries within it a lesson, a message, a hidden gift that the heart cannot always recognize in the moment. When life becomes difficult, when plans fall apart, when the path becomes steep and unclear, the first reaction of the human heart is to ask why. This question is natural, but it can also blind us to the deeper wisdom taking shape behind the scenes. The truth is that hardship is one of the most profound tools Allah uses to teach, to purify, to strengthen, and to guide His servants. What we perceive as a setback is often the beginning of transformation. What we view as a loss is sometimes the doorway to a blessing so great we would not have moved toward it without being pushed. Only when we step back and reflect do we begin to see that hardships are not empty. They are filled with divine meaning. Every challenge contains a mirror, and that mirror reveals parts of ourselves we may never have noticed in comfort. When everything is easy, we rarely examine our intentions, our habits, our weaknesses, or our spiritual needs. Ease can lull the heart into complacency, but hardship shakes the heart awake. It forces us to see who we really are, what we truly rely on, and where our faith genuinely stands. A person may think they have patience until they are tested. They may think they trust Allah until trust becomes their only option. They may believe they are strong until life humbles them. These revelations are not meant to break us, they are meant to refine us. Hardship reveals the truth of our hearts, so we can rebuild ourselves upon stronger foundations. Some lessons hidden in difficulty are lessons of redirection. We may be moving towards something that is harmful, unhealthy, or spiritually damaging without even realizing it. A sudden obstacle, rejection, or failure can feel devastating, but often it is Allah closing a door that would have led us away from our true purpose. Sometimes the blessing is not in what we gain, but in what we are prevented from reaching. A heartbreak can save the heart from a lifetime of sorrow. A lost opportunity can steer us toward a far better one. A delay can protect us from arriving at the wrong time. Allah sees the entire timeline of our lives, while we see only a single moment. In His infinite wisdom, He redirects us through hardship to ensure we reach the destination that is best for our dunya and our akhirah. Other hardships carry lessons of patience. Patience is not simply waiting, it is trusting while you wait. It is believing there is goodness in the unseen, even when the present feels heavy. True patience is not passive, it is active surrender. It is choosing hope over despair, choosing prayer over panic, choosing gratitude over resentment. Hardships teach us patience by stretching the heart, like a muscle growing stronger under pressure. Without difficult times, patience would remain theoretical. With hardship, it becomes real, powerful, and transformative. There are also lessons of humility woven into hardship. When life is smooth, we may begin to rely on ourselves too much. We may begin to believe that our success is entirely due to our efforts. Hardship reminds us of our dependency on Allah. It brings us back to the realization that we are limited, fragile, and in need of divine support. This humility is not humiliation, it is a mercy. It softens arrogance, cleanses the ego, and returns the heart to a place of sincerity. A humble heart is a heart that is open to guidance, open to growth, and open to Allah's love. Hardship teaches us gratitude in a way that comfort never can. When something is taken away, even temporarily, we learn to appreciate what we once overlooked: health, peace, family, provision, companionship, or even the simple ability to breathe without heaviness. Many of the blessings we take for granted become clear only when we lose them or fear losing them. Gratitude born from hardship is deeper, more heartfelt, and more transformative than gratitude born from ease. It teaches us not just to count blessings, but to value them. One of the most beautiful lessons hidden within hardship is the lesson of resilience. Human beings often don't know how strong they are until they are placed in situations that demand strength. Hardship reveals capabilities we never knew we possessed. It builds emotional endurance, spiritual maturity, and inner courage. A person who emerges from hardship with faith intact becomes stronger, wiser, and more compassionate. They begin to understand others' pain, connect more deeply with the suffering of those around them, and offer empathy that can only come from experiencing hardship firsthand. Perhaps the greatest lesson of all is learning how close Allah is to you during your struggle. In moments of ease, we may forget to call upon Him. But in hardship, our dua becomes more sincere. Our worship becomes more heartfelt, and our hearts become more alive. Hardship pulls us into prolonged sujood, into whispered prayers, into conversations with Allah that cleanse the soul. Through difficulty, we learn that Allah listens, responds, comforts, and guides. We learn that He never abandons us, not for a second. When the hardship finally passes, and it always does, what remains is the growth, the strength, the wisdom, and the renewed connection with Allah. We look back and realize that the trial shaped us into someone better than before. And though we would never wish for the difficulty, we cherish the transformation it brought. Every hardship carries a lesson. Every lesson carries a blessing. And every blessing carries a reminder. Allah is with you, guiding you through every chapter of your life with wisdom far beyond what you can see. When a person finally surrenders their worries, fears, and frustrations to Allah, something remarkable begins to happen. The world may still look the same on the outside, but inside, a profound shift takes place. The heart becomes lighter, the mind becomes clearer, and the soul finds rest. This surrender is not about giving up. It is about giving everything over to the one who controls every detail of our lives. It is the moment when we stop clinging to our own limited plans and trust in the divine wisdom of Allah. And from that moment, life begins to change in ways we never imagined. There are times when we try so hard to force things into place. We exhaust ourselves trying to fix every problem, trying to understand every outcome, trying to shape the future into something familiar and safe. But life does not bend to human will, it bends to the will of Allah. When we insist on controlling everything, we carry more than we were ever meant to bear. The human heart was not created to handle the weight of the universe. It was created to rely on the one who already does. When we truly hand over our affairs to Allah, we are not losing control. We are trusting the one who never loses it. This trust transforms the way we experience hardship. Instead of fearing every uncertain moment, we begin to see uncertainty as a place where Allah's miracles unfold. Instead of panicking at closed doors, we recognize them as protection or redirection. Instead of drowning in overthinking, we learn to breathe and say, "My Lord is with me." When this trust settles into the heart, even the hardest days feel different. They may still hurt, but the hurt no longer feels hopeless. It becomes a means of drawing closer to Allah, a moment of reflection, a chance to practice patience and belief. Placing full trust in Allah opens pathways that once seemed impossible. It allows blessings to reach us in unexpected ways. It removes obstacles we never saw coming. It brings people into our lives at the perfect time, and it takes people out of our lives when they are no longer part of our journey. Trusting Allah does not mean life becomes free from difficulty. It means difficulty becomes full of purpose. Every delay, every disappointment, every hardship begins to feel like a carefully placed piece of a greater plan. One of the greatest transformations that occurs when we trust Allah is within ourselves. The heart becomes calmer because it knows it is not alone. The mind becomes quieter because it no longer needs to replay every scenario. Even the body feels lighter because stress begins to melt away, replaced by serenity. We start to notice small signs of Allah's mercy throughout the day. A kind word, an unexpected opportunity, a moment of peace, a prayer answered softly, quietly, beautifully. These signs remind us that Allah has been guiding us all along, even when we didn't realize it. Another powerful change that comes from trusting Allah is the renewal of hope. Many people lose hope not because the situation is hopeless, but because they believe they must face everything alone. When faith returns, hope returns with it. We remember that Allah can turn any situation around in a moment. He can replace sadness with joy, fear with security, and confusion with clarity. A person who trusts Allah walks with hope even in darkness, because they know that the one guiding them never misguides. Trusting Allah also deepens gratitude. When we stop obsessing over what we don't have, we begin to notice what we do have. Blessings that once seemed ordinary begin to feel extraordinary. Waking up safely, having food, being able to pray, having people who care, these everyday gifts start to shine with new beauty. Gratitude becomes a daily companion, and with gratitude comes contentment. A heart content with Allah's plan is a heart that tastes true peace. There is another hidden gift in trusting Allah. Life becomes simpler. Not easier, but simpler. Decisions become easier to make when we stop trying to predict every outcome. Challenges become easier to face when we believe they carry divine purpose. Relationships become easier when we stop relying on people to fill needs that only Allah can fill. And even when things go wrong, we handle them better because we know that hardship is temporary and Allah's mercy is everlasting. The real miracle of trusting Allah is not that He changes our circumstances, though He often does in the most beautiful ways, but that He changes us. He reshapes the heart into something stronger, softer, and more faithful. He expands our patience, deepens our wisdom, and strengthens our resilience. He teaches us to let go gracefully, to wait patiently, and to rise again after falling. And as the heart transforms, the world around us feels transformed too. When we trust Allah fully, we begin to walk through life with a quiet confidence. Not arrogance, but calm certainty. A certainty that whatever is written for us will never miss us, and whatever is not written for us will never reach us. A certainty that every hardship has an end, every tear has a purpose, and every prayer has its moment of acceptance. A certainty that Allah is always working in our favor, even when we cannot see it.